And that's exactly why we must come back to that Joe Rogan video with Robert Malone and look at it one more time to hear what he has to say about the cure, if you will, to mass formation psychosis. If we are experiencing a mass psychosis event, as we start to see, especially in adolescence, some of these trends that are cropping up, like the one on TikTok and like the hate crime hoaxes that are spreading around our nation, if we are prime suspects for being manipulated by those in power, if the move away from a religious center has created in us the capacity for an existential crisis of meaning that must be filled somewhere, and we're finding ourselves searching in fruitless things, searching in the garbage, if you will, to try to pull out whatever we can find, then it serves us to understand what we can do about it. So here's that clip.
We're all on our little tools. We're not connected socially anymore, except through social media. And then this thing happened and everybody focused on it. That is how mass formation psychosis happens, and that is what's happened here. Now, there's ways to get out of it. Matthias's recommendation is you got to get people to realize that what we've got is a situation of global totalitarianism. In his experience in Europe, making people realize there's a bigger threat than the virus can cause a separation psychologically in this fusion, this hypnosis that has happened. The problem is, then you're just substituting a bigger boogeyman for the current one, and somebody else can come in and manipulate that. The real problem, and it gets back to your core point, we're sick as a society, and we have to heal ourselves. And one of the things we have to do is come together. We have to recreate our social bonds. We have to buy into integrity, the importance of human dignity, and the importance of community.
I love what Robert Malone has to say there, because I think he's 100% right. If all we do in the midst of watching our government in America get bigger and bigger and bigger, take rights upon them that they do not possess, weaponizing OSHA against employees and imposing a vaccine mandate upon people, and essentially saying, if you don't do what we say, you're going to lose your livelihood. It's clear that there is an enemy, and the growth of the federal government under the auspices of COVID protection is a real threat. But if all we do is create a bigger threat and say, well, the government's the bigger threat here rather than COVID, then people could easily be manipulated around the subject of kind of an anti-government mentality. I think what we have to recognize here is that we're experiencing a crisis of meaning in the American West that will only be solved if we are willing to recognize it for what it is. I'll put it to you like this. If God is not the center of our lives, then not only will you replace God, but you will also have to find a devil. Now, typically what happens, just in my experience with these things, is if God is not a part of your life, if you don't have a transcendent framework with which to base your morality upon, with which to base the meaning that you have in this life on, typically what will happen is the person who takes the place of God is you. You become the arbitrary, the arbiter of moral truth, if you will. But then who becomes the devil? Well, quite frankly, anybody will do. If you don't have the real devil, as we believe in Christianity, well, then you have to develop a devil. And typically what happens is you make anybody who is your enemy or somebody that you don't like, they immediately become the devil. People that disagree with you, they'll become the devil. And as we've seen throughout some of the headlines that I showed you today, you will also make yourself the devil. If you can't find a devil out in the world, you'll make yourself the devil and start fighting against yourself with, like, say, anxiety that you have, instead of learning to overcome it and learning to struggle through it and learning to have the kind of emotional and mental tools that you need to handle life when it gets difficult. You'll cave to it because you'll create an enemy that you can't defeat. Or maybe you'll go on TikTok and create a personality disorder that doesn't actually exist, that you have just simply because you're struggling with an enemy and you don't know how to fight it. Or perhaps you'll create a hate crime hoax that doesn't actually exist. And you'll create an enemy that doesn't actually exist because you need to find the devil somewhere because you need something to fight. Again, this is all deeply ingrained in each and every one of us. And so I can tell you, without a shadow of a doubt, the Desmet recipe, if you will, the ingredients for mass formation psychosis, there's some of those things that you can't do anything about. You can't necessarily do anything about the fear, the free-floating fear that's out there in the world, but you can do something about B. You can do something about the second thing. You can do something about the loss of meaning, the issues that we're having with transcendent meaning in our society. You can return to an understanding of the transcendent. You can return to an understanding of something bigger than yourself, something outside of yourself that can help you with every single thing that you'll experience in this life. You can catch brand new episodes of Indie Thinker with Reed Huberman every Monday and weekly bonus episodes to keep you thinking throughout the week. But you have to subscribe and click the bell to be notified when new episodes drop. If you enjoy this content, make sure to like this video and share it with friends.